Well, you guys have asked, and I have answered. This is part 2 of the cost of living in Canada series that I've started recently. If you guys haven't already seen part 1, go and check it out. In that video, I shared cost of living from an housing perspective, car insurance perspective, and from a grocery perspective. So if you haven't checked it out already, take the second, go and check it out. And of course, subscribe to our channel if you haven't subscribed already. Smash a like on the video and leave your comments. Now, of course, a lot of persons have been asking me, both as a result of that video and also the many emails that I've been getting so far, to do a part 2. So I'm going to be doing part 2 right now. In this video, I'm going to be talking specifically about the utilities cost of living, transportation cost of living, and also miscellaneous cost of living that many persons didn't expect when they moved to Canada. Now, let's get into it. If you're moving to Canada, please, as I always say, do your own research because every city is different and the cost of living varies based on the city that you choose to live in and also the province. For purpose of this video, I am living in Grand Prairie, which is a northwestern Albertan city located 4.5 hours north of Edmonton. So specifically, the cost of living that I'm sharing is unique to Grand Prairie, but can also be used for most places in Alberta. Again, depending on the city and the province you are in, things might be a little bit different. But I'm asking you guys, as usual, to share your experiences in the comment section. So if you're living in Canada in a different province, share your experiences so that other persons who are coming or who have recently moved or who are thinking of moving to a different province can have an idea what to expect. Now, let's get into it. Let's talk about utilities. Now, based on the previous video that I did, I shared the fact that if you're renting in an apartment, oftentimes it does include some utilities. Not every time, but in a lot of cases. But what if it's not included? How do you budget? What's a fair, realistic budget to have in your mind so you can plan adequately? Now, let's talk about the main utilities that most persons have within their household. Let's start with internet. Now, internet can vary because you have many different internet providers. In Alberta, you have 3. I'm not going to call any name because this is not a sponsored video. But you have 3 main ones. And some are a little bit more expensive than others. If you're living in an apartment, what I often find as well is that sometimes these apartment property management companies sometimes have special contracts with these internet providers. So sometimes you can get a little bit of a discount. But what if you can't get any discount? For just internet, you can look anywhere between $85 to $100 per month for internet. And that usually gets you a very fast speed internet. Now, if you want cable and internet, it might be a little bit more expensive, upwards of $120 per month. But what I always say is, watch cable anyway. If you have internet, a lot of persons just stream Netflix, Prime, and YouTube and stuff like that. So not many people watch live cable TV anymore, right? But if you want to pay for it, you can budget $120 per month for it, right? If you don't want any cable TV and you just want internet by itself, $85 would be a realistic budget to budget for that. In my case, I pay roughly $130 per month for internet because we don't have cable, but we have home security as well. So that kind of brings up the cost a little bit. You know, your camera, your alarm system and stuff like that. So if it is that you want that as well, you can look anywhere between, say, upwards of $120, but shouldn't really pass $150, depending on the company that you're using. Always say, have zero brand loyalty. Whatever is cheapest and gets you the internet speed that you need, that's the one that you should be going with, right? Now, apart from internet, you have power bill. Now, here in Canada, correct me if I'm wrong, I've never lived anywhere outside of Alberta, but your power bill is really separated between power and gas, right? So your electric bill is made up of power and gas. Gas is what usually keeps your house warm throughout the winter time, and that is what really brings up your bill throughout the winter time because you have to keep your furnace going. So your power bill and your gas bill makes up your electric bill. Now, if you're living in an apartment, in truth and in fact, when I lived in an apartment, our power bill hardly ever passed $100, right? And that's usually inclusive of power and gas, as I mentioned. if you're living in a 2-bedroom apartment, typically it shouldn't pass anywhere between 100 to 150, depending on your usage and stuff like that, of course. But I think 150 should be a realistic figure to budget for a power bill if you're living in an apartment. No, of course, if you're living in a house, it's a lot more expensive, guys. It's a lot more expensive, especially in the winter months. Now, in Alberta, power bill is expensive. In the winter months, you can look to spend anywhere between $350 to $500 per month on your electric bill. Again, gas and power makes up your electric bill. So anywhere between $350 to $500 makes up your electric bill. Now, there are things you can do throughout the winter time to make your electric bill a little bit cheaper. And I did share that in a video where I share some tips how to make it through winter. Right? If you haven't seen that video, go and check it out because it really gives you some realistic things that you can do to cut back on that power bill. Right? We all want to be warm, but the warmer you set your temperature inside, the more your bill is going to come to. Now, that's in this winter time. What about the summertime? What can you expect? What's the budget like? If you're living in a house in Alberta in the summertime, personal experience, what I'm talking about is your power bill usually drop probably $100 or more. So in the summertime, our bill was fluctuating between $250 and $350. So that's a realistic figure that you can budget for. Anywhere between $250 to $350. Now, depends on your usage. You can always cut back and save. And it depends on the size of your family and a number of different factors. Your habits essentially determine the amount that you spend in your electric bill throughout the summer. But your furnace is not running. But in Alberta especially, it gets pretty warm here in the summertime. And it's probably climate change. But the summertime can be really hot. So a lot of persons have installed AC in their house. And they run that throughout the summer months. And then that, of course, brings up your bill, of course, to pretty much the same place where it would have been throughout the winter time. So just be smart. Keep your blinds closed to shut out some of the sun. You know, different things that you can do to keep your house cool. So just like in the winter time, you can do things to keep your home warm. Summertime, you can do things to keep your home cool as well. Exhaust, use all of those options instead of paying an exuberant power bill. But in the summer months, $250 to $350, realistic figure here in Alberta. In a house, in an apartment, again, your bill is not going to fluctuate that much. So it's still going to be between $100 to $150, even in the summer months. And really and truly, because a lot of apartments, you don't pay gas anyway. You usually just pay power. Depends on where you live, of course. Please, leave your comments underneath this video and let me know if it is the same in your city or what the prices are like where you are living. Let me know. But more importantly, let everyone who's thinking of moving to your city have a realistic expectation of what to expect. Now we cover internet. We cover power. Now let's talk about water bill. Now what I find here in Alberta is that oftentimes if you live in an apartment, you don't pay water bill. Water is usually included in your rent. And I've never lived in an apartment, or neither have I known anyone who has lived in an apartment and had to pay water. So I can't quote, unfortunately, a realistic figure from an apartment in terms of paying water. Again, if you guys have a figure in mind, drop it in the comment section. Now let's talk about a house, because I've both rented a house where I had to pay water, and I of course own my home now, and we have to pay water bill. Now, funny enough, in the summer months, your water bill tends to be more. And that's just because a lot of persons are watering plant, they're watering lawn, they're filling up pool, they're doing different things. So your water bill can probably be over $200, between $200, well, let's say between $150 to $250 in the summer months. It's usually be a lot more expensive in the summer months because, of course, your usage habits change. So anywhere between $150 to $250 in the summer months is a realistic figure. In the winter months, you're not using as much water, unfortunately. So I'd say budget anywhere between $120 to $200 for your water bill. And you can always cut back and change your habits in order to conserve as best as possible. So anywhere between $120 to $200 throughout the winter month, based on my personal experience, is a factual amount to budget for your water bill. And that cover the basic utilities for a household: your internet, your power, and your water. That's really the main utilities that you need to focus on if you are renting, or if you own your home, or if you're moving to Alberta. Now let's talk about your phone plan. Now it's safe to say Canada has some of the most expensive phone plans in the world, right? It's way more expensive than in the US. It's hard to find a phone plan in Canada for less than $80 a month, depending if you're paying for a phone and stuff like that. So the plan itself, if you have a phone already, the average price that I've seen, if you have a phone already, and you just need to sign up with a phone plan that gives you decent data, decent calling time. Well, most plans give you unlimited call in Canada and the US. You're looking probably between $60 to $70. Anywhere between $60 to $70. That's the average cost without a device. Now, if you want to add a device to that, it can probably cost you anywhere between $80 to $120 for that one line. So you're covering the phone plan plus the phone. So if you add a device, I haven't seen anybody paying more than $120 thereabout for a phone plan, right? And now if you have more than one lines and plans on that line, like for example myself and Nats, we're probably looking at $170 per month thereabout, right? Because the more persons are put on it, it works out cheaper but more expensive, if you guys know what I mean. So I definitely say if you're adding a device, 120 is a realistic figure. Without a device, $60 or $70 is really a realistic figure to have in mind. Now let's talk about transportation. Now transportation here in the city of Grand Prairie might look different than transportation in a big city like Edmonton or Calgary, because in Grand Prairie, transportation is limited to public buses and private taxis. You don't have the LRTs, which is the train. You don't have Uber, even though you have other stuff like other rideshare stuff, but you have more options in a bigger city. Now, if you're gonna take the bus is gonna cost you just $3. When you take the bus for $3, you can ride the bus for 2 hours unlimited, meaning that you can transfer for 2 hours straight across the board for that $3. The good thing is that the city is very small, so 2 hours might take you around the city a couple times. Well, right? For $3. The unfortunate thing is that the bus is not 24 hours and it cuts off at a certain time. I think it's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. I don't quite remember. Don't quote me on that. But it definitely doesn't go up to midnight. So if you finish working anytime after 11 or midnight, you have to call a cab. And cabs can be very expensive. That's the downside, right? Now, cabs, if you're going to probably say 2 or 3 or say any, well, as soon as the car moves off, it starts at $8, I'm told. And then it adds on $1.50 for every kilometer, right? So it starts at $8 as soon as the car moves off, and then $1.50 for every kilometer. So the average ride on a cab might cost you $20 average, anywhere between $18 to $20 average. And if you're doing that consistently, you'll be surprised of how much it adds up, because if you take the cab twice a day, you're looking at roughly $40 for that day. So transportation in that sense can be very expensive. Now, if you're driving, of course, it's gonna be a lot more cost effective because it's not gonna cost you $40 a day. But let's talk about gas. Gas here in Grand Prairie is averaging $1.55. That's what it is right now, average. Sometimes it goes to $1.60. Sometimes it drops to $1.50. So let's just balance it out and say $1.55. That's what it is at average right now in Grand Prairie. What I find is that different cities in Alberta, it might fluctuate by a couple cents here and there, but $1.55 is the average of what a liter of gas would cost you here in the city of Grand Prairie. Let me know what it would cost you in your city. What does gas cost? I've heard stories about cities in other provinces where gas is upwards of $2. So if that is true, let me know in the comment section. But if you're driving a car here in Grand Prairie, $1.55 will be what it costs you for a liter of gas. Now, if you put $50 gas in a car, that typically give you like a little bit more than half tank, probably a 3/4 of a tank, and that can last you a week and a half, depending on your driving habits. It might last you less than a week, or it might last you a little bit over a week, depending on your driving habits, of course. City is pretty small, so that's one good thing. It doesn't take you a lot of gas to get around the city. Unlike in other places where it takes at least 30 minutes to get to your destination, here, 10-15 minutes, you're there. So you get to conserve and guess where that is concerned. And I'll end this video right here, right now. I do have some more cost of living tips that I want to share with you guys that I'm going to save for part 3. But hear what, guys, I'm only going to do that part 3 if I'm able to get at least 100 likes on this video. So if you're watching this video right now and you like this content and you want to see some more cost of living tips, please be sure to hit that like button, because that 100 likes is what's going to make me do that part 3 for the cost of living tip to live in Canada. Also, if you're watching this video and you like this kind of content, you like the conversation, or if you have gotten any kind of value from this conversation, take a second, hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out, right? And leave your comment. Let me know what costs of these items are like in your city, in your province, or even in your country. Your thoughts are always welcome in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys in the next video.